There are two sides to the colonization coin. Indigenous Africans will never know what it feels like to have 500 years of your history wiped out. You can probably go back to your grandmother, great-great-grandmother, grandfather, and you can probably spit out the history of your family. To the village, to the tree, to the place where your great-great-grandmother maybe was even born. And there may be a house still there, or a hut still there, or some place where you could say, this is where we are from, in this town. We can't do that. You guys will never know what that feels like. Right? And having to fight. And the same token, we'll never know what it feels like to be colonized on your own land. That's a whole different thing. So it's like, yes, African Americans have had to endure slavery, but indigenous Africans have had to endure colonization on their own land.
I'm your professor, I will test you in the worst way. Don't bring a scantron, it's pop quizzes all day. Cause of our chemistry, we do biology.
What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscriber died trying. You see the thumbnail. You see the clip. I think it's a very interesting conversation to have because, I think what keeps happening is when we have these conversations, there's a lot of arrogance that comes along with it. And there's two sides of the same coin, which is, let's just say, white supremacy. So you have people like myself who are what you call FBA or ADOS or whatever in America, black Americans. And then you have other black people from the diaspora, whether that be the Caribbean, Central and South America, the UK, and Africa, who dealt with colonization. And for the most part, we have a different view of white supremacy and what it is, because we're looking at it from our history of slavery, Jim Crow, and America's racism, and they're looking at it, I guess, from a colonized point of view. And we can't really connect sometimes because of that. And I would say, to me, the biggest difference is this. And I would say black Americans and blacks in the UK could probably understand this better than blacks in the Caribbean and blacks in Africa. There's a different type of racism when you change the population demographics. So if you're black and you're the minority, it's going to be a different racism than if you're black and you're the majority. So as a black American, what we're trying to say sometimes is, listen, maybe you came from your homeland and you came from your culture, but where your homeland and your culture is, it's 80 to 90% black. All of the resources in some of these countries, and what I mean countries, I'm talking about the Caribbean, Central South America. Well, I take that back, because let's just go 50% and up. You're 50% and up of the population. When you bring South America into it, because Brazil, it's like 50 something percent. But and you have all these natural resources, and somehow you're just giving them away. And you get other blacks who've been colonized, like, you guys are just lazy. You don't work hard enough. You're not taking advantages of all the things that white people have put in place. And for us, it's kind of like, you don't get it. Like, it's like, okay, Yeah, I went to school just like you do. I got an education just like you did, but you think I'm not working hard enough here. And I'm still trying to figure out why aren't you working hard enough there, if that's the case. Because it's two different mindsets, you know. And you see it play out because I think you would say, some people would say that black Americans are unnecessarily rebellious, unnecessarily pushing back when it doesn't even, it's no need for it. It doesn't need, it's like we're sometimes fighting the ghost of racism in the room that we only see in everybody else. Even black people who aren't from America is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you just, you know, jumped out there on that one. And I would say that black Americans look at people who've been colonized like, you just go along to get along no matter what. Like, you really think these people are being friendly to you in this way because they like you and they're good people? No, they just don't want to get jumped. So they're finessing you out of everything that you have with a smile on their face because they don't want you to go, wait a minute, you robbing me, you robbing me, you robbing me, you robbing them, you robbing them. Hey man, let's jump this fool. That's what that is, you know. And I think you see some of the African countries who are shutting out France, they about to, you know, why are we giving y'all this money? Why we owe y'all this money? Why are y'all over here? You know, what exactly are you bringing to my country again? And I forget. I think it was a comedian. No, it wasn't a comedian. It was Mos Def, the rapper. You know, some called Yassine Bey. You know, he changed his name. I remember that. And he said he was in Paris after he left Africa, I believe. And somebody was like, yeah, man, it's so nice out here. And his response was, it better be. All the stuff that they stole to make it nice, it better be nice out here. So it's a difference in perspective, you know. And a lot of times I would say we don't understand each other's history. Because I've been on panels with Africans who are in Africa talking about black Americans. And what they thought and what the history is and what the reality is and was in certain situations were two different things. They were just thinking with a stereotype, you know. Like, yeah, well, you know, I've heard black people like this, so obviously if this situation happened because black people are like this stereotype, it's got to be black people. And then you say, no, it's this, and this. It's like, oh. And sometimes with black Americans, we see the through line. Like, we can, because we are, in a sense, behind enemy lines, we see it differently. Kind of like, I would say people who are Native American or Indians of indigenous people, whether that be in America, I would say Canada, Central America, South America, and even some of the Caribbean islands, right? They have a completely different belief system and relationship with their understanding of white people. It's like, oh, these white people are doing, nah, they finna do something dirty. Nah, they wiped us out with that friend thing. I don't want to hear it no more. And I think because it's two sides of the same coin of white supremacy, you know, we're being sometimes arrogant, not listening to the other side. Not to figure out how to appease white people more, but to figure out, okay, oh, this is the game that they're running on you. And this is, and for the other side, say, oh, that's the game that they're running on you. Oh, okay. Okay, so how does this connect to my situation? And then you go, okay, how can I defend this? How can I stop this from going on? And sometimes that's the issue, because sometimes I would say, whether colonized or if your ancestors are people who've been enslaved, there are certain people in the group who just want to be kumbaya, and they sabotage the entirety of the group. You know, with the more with if when they increase in numbers, and I would say that what we see from this end is colonized people want to be more kumbaya than FBA people, and it don't, and it sabotages our group, kind of like that the Nigerian guy who's, I guess, the politician who went to speak for black people, talking about what we need and what we don't need, and it's like, yo, speak for Nigerians, don't speak for us on that. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's not even if we need or don't need anything. It's just, I don't need you and your mindset sabotaging what my group is doing. And then you go 10 years later, oops, my bad, I wasn't even thinking. No. So, because we're not doing that to you. We're not going over to, say, to Africa or the Caribbean, you know, telling the British or the French what we as black Americans don't need in Africa or the Caribbean that affects Africans or Caribbeans. It doesn't make sense. But I'm gonna leave it at that. You know, y'all tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
You ever been at the top of the universe? I'm gonna say it again.